Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Common Good Podcast. I feel like the theme song was quiet there. Is it quiet in your ears? Sound normal?
A little bit.
Hey, welcome to the Common Good Podcast, the number one progressive Christian political podcast known to humankind.
That's right.
It's a great honor. I was on another YouTube channel. It's got
Oh,
like 100,000 views yesterday, and I heard last week, and I said, you know, Pete, you're always welcome on our podcast. It is the number one progressive Christian political podcast in America.
in America. That's right.
Sometimes saying just saying in America sounds better than I don't know, in the world. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
Guess it's because we're number one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey,
Doug,
how's
I am
end of July? How's the report?
Yeah, I am. Well, it is crazy hot here, somewhere outside of Fayetteville, Arkansas. It is just, I mean, it's miserably hot. And I have gotten a summer cold, which is annoying. Summer
Okay.
colds are always annoying. So I've, been a little stuffed up and coughing a little bit and, all that kind of stuff. And my wife went away. My wife and children went away. They are in Pennsylvania, and I have dug 10 days by myself.
Wow. Do you need a friend? Should we send people? Do we need to send reinforcements?
Well, this is what happens when I'm alone by myself.
Go on.
I was at the cigar shop until 12:15 last night arguing politics with a couple of people.
The cigar shop stays open that late, or was
No.
it was it
No, it
hours
does
hours
not.
after closing?
No. Yeah, it was the owner of the cigar shop, who's a very conservative Republican friend of mine, and another guy who's pretty moderate. And I was there working because I'm a night worker. I work in the evening. I'm not a morning person, and I'm a night worker. That doesn't.
Oh yeah.
That probably doesn't sound the right way, right? So and I work in the evening, and so I figured, I came home, had some dinner, and I was like, well, it's too hot to have a cigar on my back porch because it's 100 degrees out. I'm gonna go to the cigar shop and do some work. So I'm sitting there doing some work, and I was listening to some Bruce Springsteen on Spotify and doing some work, really enjoyable. It was Meet Me Across the River. I love that song. Love that song.
That's the Rio Grande River he's talking about there too.
No, it's not the Hudson River. This is like old, like it's an old one, old song where like he's, Anyways,
okay.
So listening to some Bruce Springsteen, doing some work. There's a group of guys having a conversation. When I take my headphones off, I hear it, and they're talking about healthcare and how expensive it is and what policy ought to be. And it's about 9:15. I was like, I'm going to jump into this conversation. So I went, and there was an extra chair. So I went over and jumped in, and it started with about 6 of us. And then when the cigar shop closed at 11:15, there were 3 of us. And then when, they were ready to lock the doors, we came home. So I was, this is what happens when I'm left alone. I stay out way too late talking about healthcare policy.
What was the long and short of, were these folks mainly conservative? Were they not political thinkers? Were they just
no, very political thinkers.
Okay.
Very, like, ultimately it comes down to the question of what role does the federal government play in our lives? And there's some people who think that the federal government should have a very, 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 very limited role in our lives.
Okay.
And there's some of us that thinks that the role of the federal government is to not just provide a military, but also to protect human rights
The general welfare, are they comfortable with to provide for the common defense and the general welfare and to establish peace and domestic tranquility? Or are they just like half a verse of this School of Rock anthem?
Yeah. And even, so, so you begin to ask the question of like, okay, does the federal government have a role in protecting the civil rights of people based on the color of their skin? Okay. And if that is the case, then does the federal government have a role in education? Does the federal government have a role in healthcare? As you begin to like, you begin to spread this stuff out and you realize there's some people that think, no, I don't want, even if a health insurance system, a healthcare system that eliminates private insurance and would save me hundreds of dollars a month because I'm paying for health. Yeah. This whole thing of like free healthcare. I said, like, no, nobody's talking about free healthcare. Like healthcare gets paid for. You pay for it instead of paying for it with your $1,600 a month insurance premium. How about if you paid $800 a month in taxes? Like that, you save hundreds of dollars a month
with Progressive.
No interest.
With progressive policies.
Interest. No interest.
Well, look, and I get it, right? If someone said to me, hey, you're going to get a little more money, either someone's going to give it to you or you're going to save it. And all you've got to do is give up this right. Give up this freedom. It's all you got to do. For a lot of people, that's basically the deal that is marriage. You can have the financial joining together, and all you got to do is give up,
I heard a comedian today. I saw, when I first woke up, I was, doing that terrible thing that you shouldn't do, but I did it, just scrolling some reels on my Facebook. And I saw a comedian said, this is what marriage is. Marriage is sneezing 4 times and having someone yell from the other room, why don't you just die already?
But look, the deal that you could have is you're going to give up some freedoms, but you're going to have some more money. I understand the argument that libertarians and non-government interventionists want to say there's no amount of money that I would want to give up my freedoms. So people do make an argument for non-government intervention. And I would love to spend the whole time of this podcast talking about this because I think it is, as you suggested, the most prescient thing that's running in the background.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
For all the decisions and policies and political identities. Do these people make a distinction between the state government and the federal government? Because there's a lot of people who say stuff like, I don't want the federal government. And then you say, what about the state? And then usually they're like, no, not those people either. And then you're like, what about the county? What about the city?
Yeah.
What about a neighborhood like rule? What about an HOA?
Like HOA. Yeah.
Could there be a rule of the Elks Club? My God, my freedom. Meanwhile, they want to make sure everybody stops at stop signs. People aren't playing their music too loud. Their food is healthy.
HOA's the single most tyrannical thing on the planet.
Tyranny.
Yes, there is a distinction made between federal government and states, and and the argument is if you want a more involved state government, move to a state that has that. If you want a less involved state government, move to a state that has that. it's
okay. So they're saying, let there be some places where there's more limitations, but there be other places where there's less limitations.
If states make those decisions, yes.
Yeah, which we have. This is an actual thing. This is actually how it goes. But at some point, some things become interstate.
Right.
So it's very difficult to have a nation function together as one of the collective states.
Totally.
Look, and I know hypocrisy and people being inconsistent is not most people's biggest beef with an idea or something. You know, you hear this a lot, especially those of us that are in the religion world. People are like, well, you know, if it wasn't for all the hypocrisy in Christianity, I would be all in. I'm like, really? That's what's got you hung up? It's not the sense that there's a great grand ethic that calls you to love your neighbor as yourself and to love your enemy as you would love your neighbor, which is the way you would love yourself, which is the way you would love your God. You're not held up by the fact that you should give of yourself for others. None of that's what's got you hung up. You're just like, that guy's behavior bugs me because he doesn't do what he should do. So therefore, I'm out of that thing. I'm not going to live in an ethic of human care and kindness. And hypocrisy has kept nobody from anything. I get that. That's not how it, like no one says, hey, how many people are members of this health club? And you're like, well, we got 972 members. How many of those people never come in a year? You know what? Actually, like 45% of people come 3 times or less in a quarter of a year. What a bunch of hypocrites. Count me out. Cancel my membership. I'm not going to be a member of some club. No one does this stuff. But I will say, when libertarians and non-government interventionists start into their nonsense, the minute their thing is in jeopardy, they want a fire department, they want law and order, they want consistency across the system. They want to make sure that when they turn their water on, that water is clean in the faucet. They want to make sure that they're not going to have their electric bill skyrocket by 140% month after month. They're going to make sure that you don't just let a free market run wild and send you dirty water and prices that are flying all over the place and private roads that someone can just decide to close. They don't want any of that. So the inconsistency is, to me, intolerable of that opinion. And I'm someone who wants to make an argument all the time. We should decide on what should the government do as a whole. What should individuals do? It's another group. What should businesses be responsible for? What should the sector that runs businesses but nobody's owning the value of the business, the nonprofit sector, as we call it in the United States? Those are all different groups. What should just basic associations do? And who has the power to force something on someone else and who doesn't? I mean, that's all the stuff we negotiate.
Yeah. Yeah,
should
that's what it means
be
to
being run
live
by our federal government?
Right.
Probably not. Should the government be being run by private for-profit industry? Probably not.
Right. Yeah.
Should the government be being run by neighborhood associations with no power, just a bunch of collectivism, just a bunch of like community garage sale or Tuesday night out get-togethers? No.
Yeah. But I will tell you, Doug, the thing that was really enjoyable about this conversation was, especially once it it kind of focused in where there were 3 of us primarily. I mean, get rid of the riffraff. But once there 3 people, 3 different perspectives, one very conservative, one very progressive, one middle of the road. Passionate conversation.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Humor, empathy,
mutual
listening,
respect.
Mutual respect.
Wow.
It in what has become such a toxic political environment where having conversations and having disagreements has gotten so very complicated. There was no risk of friendship being broken in the midst of this conversation, and that was really refreshing. That was really enjoyable, knowing that here's people that could very passionately disagree, and and joke with each other, and rib each other a little bit, and finish the conversation as friends.
Was there a point at which you found your own ideas about this lacking? Like, was there a part of the conversation where you're like, I actually don't have a great way to think about that yet? Like, that part's got me a little puzzled. Yeah. So I'm using this other idea to sort of fill in for that one.
Yeah, there were times where I was wishing I had facts, data at my fingertips. One point I got up and walked over and got my phone and brought it back over so I could Google a few things, because somebody had interjected something that I was just like, I don't think that's true at all. I gotta fact check that.
And
well, the suggestion was that we were talking about public education and national standards for public education, and
wow,
and
back to No Child Left Behind, back to
1999,
2001.
Literally talked about No Child Left Behind. But there was somebody made the suggestion that students in Mississippi test better than have better test scores than students in England.
No.
Right? I was like, there's no way that can be true. And so I had to get my phone and Google that.
Well, maybe I don't know. I don't know all the places in England.
No, they don't.
But no, that's not.
No. The state that ranks last in the United States in educational rankings,
is not better than
is not outperforming England. So but there were times where it was like, I wish that I had a little bit more information at my fingertips, or had some things, and part of it too is the style of conversation.
Yeah.
I tend to be a question asker and listen and then tell some stories, and other people involved in the conversation are those folks who tend to make very declarative statements with great authority and dogmatism. And so, but it was good. It was one of those refreshing kinds of things,
Wonderful. I had a nice dinner conversation last night too. Shelley and I had dinner with friends, talked about politics, and we were talking. I was struck by my own thoughts on this particular topic we were on. It was curious to feel and hear my thoughts develop about how much pressure there is for a politician, an elected official, to feel responsible to support the party especially like Republicans, like it's really easy to say to Republicans, like, why don't they just come out and just say the things about Donald Trump that they say once they're not running for office or have lost or he's turned against them? Like, why do I feel like I sound like the people who used to work for Donald Trump and less like the people who do work for Donald Trump? And why am I pretty sure that those people who currently work for him are going to sound an awful lot like, the rest of us when they're done? And is it a moral failing that they do so? And I guess I just recognize how many people in politics have a job to do. And part of that job is to support the party. And part of that job is to support their voters who support the party and support that guy. And that in some ways politicians, which you will be soon when you're elected on Accountability Day in 98 days, are actors. If you think about what an actor does, an actor goes on a stage or a screen or a recording booth, and they say things in a way that are not true, but are designed for you, the viewer, to feel something. They want you to feel something real. And they will use the mechanism of saying things and pretend and to elicit a feeling from you that's real. So there's a real thing going on in the context of the thing that's not real. So, I guess if somebody becomes too philosophical, they're like, actors are just liars. Right? And they're not. They're performing a function inside of a social agreement that you recognize they're an actor for you to feel something. If you find out that you're in an interaction with someone, like I think you were telling me about a TV show that you watched, something about the jurors, where all the jurors are actors and one person is not.
Yeah.
Like that's this unfair social expectation thing. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes we look at politicians and we think their primary job is to be completely honest, where their primary job is like any other job you're in, to be a server at a restaurant, to be a docent at an art gallery. And someone says, well, I don't really like that artwork there. And their job is to be like, oh, well, let me tell you what's going on. Not to say, I agree with you or I don't agree with you. It's to say, oh, let me explain what this artwork is and what this artist is up to. And maybe that'll open things up, right? And try to, you have a role and a function. And I think a lot of us, especially progressives with the Trump administration, all we can see is like moral failure of the Republicans who don't speak out against him. Now, I believe that his behavior is so abhorrent and his policies are so bad. We can talk about the Haitians. We can talk about the cruelty and the rudeness to journalists. But there's a bunch of people who are like, okay, look, the rules are that's my boss, and I got to toe the party line here. Literally toe the party line. I think other things, and we don't like that in our politicians. We want our politicians to be like, real people and doing this real thing. So anyway, it was to me, it was an interesting conversation, watching my own mind kind of go down the route of, oh yeah, let's not forget what politicians, and they're not less honest than other people until they are.
Right.
And if they would say, look, there's a lot of things I could say and think about this, but my job here is to not only be a representative, but I'm also part of a party. And and Democrats have dealt with that. If you're a Democratic party involved person, even if you're not an elected official, like, you know, you feel this sense of, I don't know, like wanting the thing to be successful and wanting to support it and not bringing up every single moment of personal angst and frustration. So I don't know. That was our conversation last night.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I thought it was the start of something in my brain.
Yeah. 98 days, Doug.
Until accountability comes for the Robb Ryerse for Congress campaign.
Whew. That is not a lot of time. It is not a lot of time.
Not a lot of time. Hey, Deborah makes this great comment. Hi, Deborah. She says they, meaning the politicians, are supposed to serve their constituents.
Yeah.
This is one of the hard things in a representative form of democracy. What is the relationship between the constituents and the person? Do you say, how many of my constituents support this policy? Or do you say, they elected me, and now I'm going to make a decision about what I think is best for this, even if my constituents wouldn't agree? This is a real question, you know, like, hey, you work for me, that people yell at the police officer, you know, when they pull them over. Like, no, actually, I work for the city and we're paid by some of the tax dollars that you pay. But I have an obligation that goes far beyond, you know, my boss, that you, the person. So I don't know. It's a difficult, relationship that I just don't think we talk enough about. Like, what do politicians do, and how do you do it? And what's
and you know, we think we value the willingness to buck your party, the willingness to be a maverick. We value that, except when it happens, you know, in ways that you disagree with.
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel about John Fetterman right now? You know, like,
yeah, okay, good point. Good
you
point.
know,
yeah.
like,
How do people feel about that? The guy from West Virginia.
Joe Manchin.
Joe Manchin.
Yeah. How do Republicans feel about Lisa Murkowski or Susan Collins, who at times have, you know, bucked their party? You know, so it's a really complicated thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a conundrum, and it's a puzzle. And if you start with, look, Republican, so in our work, if we start with thinking people that support Donald Trump, voted for him, want to support him, are also conflicted. Maybe not as conflicted as we think they should be. But my guess is I'll just say, all of them are somewhat conflicted with something. Just that little bit of like, oh yeah, that's how that goes. People, it's not great for everybody. And I think that's just, I mean, if you're in the like, hey, you don't have to stay there world, I want to be in. It's like, okay, you're conflicted.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be.
Yeah. Or lean into that.
Yeah. Yes.
Let that angst that you're feeling, you know, be a light to your path.
Yep. Yeah. Look, it's complicated being a human.
Yeah.
If you just start back somewhere, like, I don't know, being a human being is complicated. And then being a human being in relationships is complicated. And then being a human being in a country is like, it's not that simple. And then there are times where it's like pretty stinking simple. And in 98 days, people are going to have a choice to put these people in places of political power. They should lose their jobs or not. And I'm beginning to think it's going to be a wave.
What is causing that feeling?
The timer has run that there's not anything that's going to change in the situation that's going to make people think. Like, we're now within, I think, that 100-day window.
Yes, I had talked about my fear was the backlash to the backlash.
Yes.
That thing that we do where, that there is, backlash to some celebrity for doing something or other, and then all of a sudden that person begins to gain some popularity again. Like the tide goes out and then like it's got to fill back up. And I think that I have worried that there would be a backlash to the backlash, that it would suddenly become cool to be a Trump supporter.
Which is what happened in 2024.
Yeah. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, with the blogosphere. And
so
you're feeling like we're within the window where that's very unlikely at this point. There's not much that could happen.
Yep.
That could cause that.
What got
though
me
we do
was,
have the phrase October surprise for a reason.
Yeah, and name one that's ever made a, maybe Comey reopening the investigation into Hillary Clinton. Went to my grocery store Monday night. Oh, last night. This was last night.
Yeah.
Boy, lots happened. A long night. 5 o'clock, something like that. And there were 40-ish people on the street corner out in front of the grocery store. Not because the grocery store was there. It's just a busy corner. With no king signs, Epstein signs, liars, bunch of old people standing around waving signs. On Tuesdays, a bunch of people stand out on a bridge over a highway right by my house. Right up the way on Wednesdays, there's a group of people that get together on the street from 5 o'clock till 5:45. There's just more people every time. I am completely thrilled. Like, people are not letting up. They are just going out there every day and standing out like a bunch of political street preachers. And frankly, it's the age demographic are the people who show up to vote, especially show up to vote in midterm elections.
Yep.
And we are the people that are going to save us. That's it. The we the people is the people. You know who causes this problem? The people. Some people more than others, but the people who are going to fix it. So I just think we're going to hit Labor Day, and man, people are going to be like, okay, now we can start talking about the election and not feel like we're just total nerds talking about sports in the off season.
Yes, I have said to people, I'm like, folks, we're the weird ones. It is a Monday evening in July, and we're talking about politics. Like,
totally.
We're the weird ones. Yeah.
Yes. So apparently Deborah's saying she's one of those people. I don't know, Deborah, if you're in the Twin Cities area, I would love to know that too. But yeah, that thing that people are like,
yep.
And I think inside the Democratic supporting structure and world, there's a lot of joy about this and enthusiasm and uptick still. I guess the upside is there's not a big national argument going on that people are picking sides on. Democrats are not. When someone says I'm going to vote for the Democrat, it's kind of like, am I going to vote for the more progressive one in the primary or for the more moderate one? And that's kind of it. And it's not even coming down to like a topic.
Right. There's not a galvanizing issue. Like, there's been times in the past where like student loans, like, student loan debt seemed to be like, man, everybody was talking about that all the time.
Yes.
And now it's just like,
loans.
when is this still a thing? Like, this is still a thing, right? Like, people are still going bankrupt.
Do students still have loans?
Right. And yeah, you're right that there doesn't seem, there's not a, there, there's not a divisive issue like that.
Mm-hmm.
What there is the overall sense of everything costs too much. Like I'm not making it. Like
Yeah.
that's the thing, is the malaise, to use a word from the 70s, the malaise of like I'm not sure how I'm gonna make it.
Yeah.
Everything costs too much.
Yeah, inflation. And we haven't done an economics themed podcast in a while, but global inflation became a real thing because of the response to COVID. All that shutdown, all that startup. It doesn't take anybody to explain anything to anyone to be like, oh yeah, parts of our society and sectors slowed way down. Parts of it were running like crazy, and things got out of balance, and that's going to create more money in the system, especially when every government in the world was just pumping money into the world, just nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
There was so much money flowing in. And then there were too few places producing things. So inflation went up. Then it started to come back down. And then low T Trump gets elected, and he decides to just put an inflationary series of policies in place with tariffs and with blockades and with war. Like it was literally the last thing you would do if you thought inflation was a problem. He doesn't think it's a problem. Never did. That man never, ever thought the problem with the price of eggs was inflation. That guy thought people are talking about groceries, like that's a thing.
What an old-fashioned word.
An old-fashioned word. Groceries. He's like, I talk about meals that people make for me. I don't talk about the ingredients in the meals. Hey, Gorsuch made some news this week that in my little slim news feed.
Yeah.
Making a big deal, saying the myth of a white Christian founding of America is total nonsense, and conservatives should stop pushing it. Now, he has ruled in ways that seem as if he is giving preferential treatment to Christians. So why he's doing that, I don't know, if it's not based on the founding. He may have other reasons why we should be our laws should be preferentially balanced toward the dominant religious culture. But he goes on a long bit in a PBS interview, coming back again and again to the idea that this is not a Christian nation, was not founded as one. In fact, we have explicit statements in the founding documents that we would not be.
Right.
Like, Christian nationalism is so absurd.
You're right.
That even Neil Gorsuch says it's not a Christian nation's founding.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. Especially when you, like, given the history of the founding of our nation, I mean, we have talked about this. Arguing about and trying to understand the relationship between church and state, between religion and government, is something that we have been doing since before the Pilgrims arrived on the shores. Like, this is baked into our DNA as Americans to hash this stuff out. And there have been different approaches. There have been approaches where, to be a part of the Massachusetts Bay Colony, you have to be a Puritan. To be a part of Pennsylvania, you have to be a Quaker. Like, there have been these choices that were made by colonies, and then as the founding documents are written, there's the discussion of like, are we gonna keep doing this? Or are we gonna do something different?
Mm-hmm.
And the we're gonna do something different is the approach that won out.
Yes.
And like it is undeniable.
Yes.
Like, because the other approach was there and it clearly didn't win. Like and Gorsuch is just, I mean, this is like the, the stopped clock or the blind squirrel. Like,
yes, it's so self-evident to someone who knows the Constitution, which I don't think Neil Gorsuch's rulings are universally consistent with the Constitution. I think he is an unelected interventionist judge that is making law, and he should not be. To borrow a conservative phrase from the 1990s and 1980s and late 1970s around abortion.
Yeah, these activist judges.
But he does know like in the interview, he even says something that's basically like, it's right there in the First Amendment. Like this is just undeniable. But here's the thing about the conservative movement, and it's true about the progressive and liberal movements as well. We don't let things just rest because there were past decisions made. Now, what conservatives don't tend to do is say there were decisions made and they were in error and we should fix them, because they're oriented around there being some ultimate truth that was layered into reality, and they're telling themselves what they're doing is not making judgments in current day. They are trying to return to a previous time. This is the kind of a base orientation. And progressives tend to say like, oh, we had starts and then we had adjustments and then we had fixes, and we're going to keep doing that. We're going to, that's the difference between a notion of progress, going to keep going and making and building and responding and reacting, and conservation, which is to return something to a previous state. Generally speaking, that's why those words tend to fit those political movements. So conservatives do this weird thing where they're like, well, maybe it would have been better if the United States had taken the Massachusetts or Pennsylvania plan. And we tend to say like, oh, no. What? Once we decided this is what we're doing, they're basically just second guessing everybody else and all the decisions they've made along the way.
And this is, and there's this question of like precedent and settled law, like, and this is, everybody cherry picks, everybody cherry picks like what is settled and what, is still up for debate.
Yes.
And, we all think of the Constitution, whether we admit it or not, we all think of the Constitution as a living document that can be adjusted and changed. And we all think of the Constitution as, settled.
Yes.
and it just depends on what we're in favor of and what we're not. What we think could be tweaked and adjusted and what we think is, perfect.
Yeah, and what the implication of some of those callings that the Constitution has for us, we can then say, wow, but how does that apply to, and then you have a new situation at hand. So you could say freedom of the press. It really does make you ask a question. What constitutes the press?
Right. Because press is very literally referring to the printing press. Like,
that's why it's called that.
The guy setting the letter and running the paper through. Like that's.
Yeah. So it's good to hear that a sitting conservative Supreme Court justice wants to go out of his way to say to J.D. Vance and others in the administration, Pete Hegseth, this is nonsense. If you want to root your argument for Christian morality in America in its founders' desire to have a Christian nation.
Yep.
Which, there are just days where I think, do we really have to have this conversation again? But this is a world in which we have to talk about polio and the measles and fulfilling America's, not just America's promise, but literally America's promises.
Yeah, Doug, the headline on Huffington Post right now, HuffPo, is Trump frustrated with speed of RFK Jr.'s attack on childhood vaccines.
He wants
President Trump has increasingly grown disappointed with the speed of Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s assault on childhood vaccines, wondering why he hasn't reduced the federal recommended amount and focused more on the potential ties to autism. Trump wants RFK Jr. to be more of an anti-vaxxer.
Are we clear now that Donald Trump is an anti-vaxxer? And this is not Donald Trump being against the Trump vaccine. The one that he oversaw.
The jab.
The process.
Became an Operation Warp Speed.
Warp Speed. I mean, not since his night with Stormy Daniels has he been called the Warp Speed guy.
Oh, wow.
Until then.
This is a jab we don't want to talk about.
She got the jab. She got the shot. This is a man saying that childhood vaccines are related to autism. Autism's a big deal. If it was related to childhood vaccines, we would know that.
Yeah.
And frankly, we could go vaccines all day. There is no pharmaceutical company is making such profits that they would put at risk children. Whatever level you believe that greed, money drives everything, it's... I'm going to be rude for a minute. It's money-obsessed people who make the argument, follow the money. People do things, all kinds of decisions, for many reasons more powerful than they're going to get more money. It's not about the money. Just generally speaking in America, let me just say, the big issues we face, it's not about the money. And your love of money.
That's the root of all evil. Yeah, it's just crazy though think that at this moment in time, with the Iran war continuing, with the economic situation that the country is in, with like all of the other things that are happening.
The cover up of a criminal pedophilia ring that Donald Trump is associated with.
That hey, my anti-vax guy isn't pushing fast enough on that.
Yeah.
You know, like this, part of like I go to like there's got to be some political calculation to that.
The Maha group.
Like
It's that.
But I can't like but I can't. It's that's a strange one. That's a strange one to me.
Yeah, he's also a stream of consciousness and thought guy, and he's just sitting around, things popping in his head, and he's like, "Hey, whatever happened to that thing? Whatever, what?"
Yeah.
What,
yeah. Did you watch any of?
What's the gravelly voiced guy? What's he up to? I thought he was going to get all those people, all those progressives that didn't want to stay with the political progressives to come over and join us. He probably saw some polling around losing progressives that voted for him. And by the way, there's a bunch of super progressive anti-vaxxers who are anti-vaxxer for progressive reasons that became Trump supporters.
Yeah.
So the only reason he brought RFK in is because Jared and Ivanka are anti-vaxxers. Long time anti-vaxxers. You think Donald Trump knows anything about vaccines? You think the guy who takes his glasses off and looks at the sun during an eclipse is the guy we should try? You think the guy who said we should put
bleach,
put bleach inside?
Can we just like oh my goodness. Did you watch any of the White House Correspondents' Dinner?
No, but I'm so mad, frankly, that they redid that thing, because I think the White House the fact that there is a White House Correspondents' Dinner, I don't care. The fact that they invite politicians and they have a night to show America that even though the Fourth Estate holds politicians accountable, we're still one America. And it's so absurd. Stop inviting the people you cover to come and play cutesy and friendly with you. Do your jobs and have your own award ceremony. Why the president is there. But then I've seen all these people just talking about how bad it was and how insane the things Trump said and how poorly written the jokes were. And here's what we know. People think Trump is funny because he does and says goofy things. Everyone who's around him has famously said the man lacks a sense of humor. He is not humorous. He is not funny.
Yeah.
He is a mean, dry drunk.
He can be mean. Yeah, he can be mean. And there's times when people find humor in his meanness, but he's not funny. Hey, I agree with you, Doug.
Anytime I see one of those,
what am I?
Usually, I'll wait until I say something else that people might not agree with me about, and then I'll just throw it up there.
Yeah. Appreciate that, Alex. Doesn't agree with me, but
okay.
Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna make this about me. Right?
You really had to make that.
I'm gonna Trump this thing.
That's great.
Yeah. So, Doug, the most
take that
basic, the most basic thing of like the cliche of a man telling a woman to smile.
Yes.
And he gets up there in his speech and tells
Caitlin
Collins that she needs to smile more.
The same thing he has said to her face in the Oval Office.
Could you be more of a out of touch cliche of an old man? Just
and then he
ridiculous.
Apparently tried compared to say
compared her to well, he talked about Dylan Mulvaney being on the Bud Light can, and how Caitlin Collins thought it was her. It's just ridiculous.
Let's stop writing comedy speeches and roasts for presidents. Let's stop having them go to press award ceremonies to chum around. Like, when is a president going to just say, you know what? I have a lot of things that I get access to as the president. I literally don't have to go to everything I'm invited to. And here on out, this presidency doesn't go to the award ceremonies of the press. Or the press could say, maybe when a president says that the press is fake, lies, are terrible people, are enemies of America, you don't then say, oh, come and tell us some jokes, Mr. President. Like, could you have some level of self-respect?
Yeah.
I've tried to listen to the arguments for why there is a presidential invitation and why the administration at all is there, why it's full of cabinet members. And I heard Caitlin Collins say on an interview with also not funny Jon Stewart that
wow, that might be the most controversial thing you've said this whole podcast.
Thank you, Deborah.
Hey, headline: Doug buried the lead. He does not think Jon Stewart is funny.
Thank you, Alex. Glad you agree with me. She said, you know, the room was. There were many people from Trump's administration in the room. Or Jon Stewart said this, one of the two of them. And when Trump was giving his roast, the room was just eerily quiet. And he could feel himself failing. And then he started, I didn't hear this part or see this, but apparently people referred to it. He then started to critique the speechwriters for writing him bad jokes. There's an argument to be made, and I think you made it a few weeks ago when we first talked about this, before there was an attempted shooting at the press award ceremony, that Barack Obama choosing to make a joke about Donald Trump running for president actually fueled Donald Trump, who was sitting in the room, to, out of spite, double down and running for president, which he then did.
Yep.
Why was Donald Trump in the room at the National Press Club, at the National Press Association dinner?
Because it became a whole thing where people would invite the most outrageous celebrities they could, you know, and ridiculous.
Could the Press Association just take their jobs more seriously, please?
No.
And
no.
You know what? You're not in high school anymore, and you don't need a prom. You don't need a gala. You don't need something fancy to get dressed up. You know who doesn't have that? School teachers and plumbers and guys who own cigar shops in Arkansas. They don't need to be around the popular people and feel like folks like them, and what an honor it is to be there, and just good grief. You know, just can't you just be normal? Can't you just be normal people?
Just tired of this shit.
Press. And I'm all for the press. I just don't think they need to have don't need to have a party.
Nerd prom.
By the way, you know who else doesn't need a party? Musicians and actors.
Oh.
The Grammys and the Academy. The whole thing.
Hot
the
takes.
Whole party.
Doug is coming in hot today.
Thing is just, I mean, okay, count me in the Daniel Day-Lewis, Bob Dylan world of this.
Yeah.
Thank you, I'm not coming.
Doug.
Now, behind us, I do have a statue.
Now you got
I do have a statue.
Yeah.
I do have a statue back there that we did receive an award for our TV commercial. So put your award on your shelf and don't have a party about it.
Yeah. No, if I ever win an award like that, it goes in the guest bathroom to hold the toilet paper. Hot takes, Doug. Mitch McConnell alive?
Yes, he's alive.
Okay.
He's alive and being scooted around. Yep. Mitch is still alive. Okay, hot take, Rob. Will someone at Lindsey Graham's funeral say out loud that they believe he was a closeted gay man? His funeral's today. I think Netanyahu came in town for it. What do you think Netanyahu and Israeli intelligence knows about the behaviors of United States Senator?
I mean, I can only
Senator Lindsey Graham.
I can only think of one person who would make a comment like that at Lindsey Graham's.
And his name is
Donald Trump.
Yep.
Apparently, from what's happening on Twitter right now, the flag draped over Lindsey Graham's casket is
a rainbow flag.
Is wrinkled. Like
not rainbow. It's wrinkled.
Not rainbow. It's a United States flag, but it's wrinkled. It was not, well ironed before.
Yeah. Jesus tells these parables about the absurdity of laws in his time, the Sabbath laws that just made life intolerable for people trying to live them. That's the flag code people of our day. Really? Not did the man who inhabited the body that's inside the casket not uphold the standard of the flag? Your issue is the folding of fabric. Wow.
So funny.
If it was hung upside down on his casket, maybe that would have. I just don't know how you would do that. I guess stand on the other side and it's upside down.
There you go.
Casket. I guess you could do it that way. Well, look, there have been many times since I don't know, early 2000s and through the aughts that I asked the internet, is there anything out there about Lindsey Graham being a gay man? Lots of reasons to think so. Consistently would get back, nope. I never, ever saw a headline. Since his death, daily headlines referencing some way or the other. Huffington Post. Turns out the only way that, a gay man can be successful in the Republican Party is to be sort of anti-gay and hawkish. Like, oh, okay. So again, press, well done, everybody. Now, if he didn't want to talk about it, great. Don't talk about it. But why are you talking about it now? And who cares? Someone's going to say it.
Yep.
Someone's going to say it. Is Trump giving comments at the funeral?
I don't know. Probably. It wouldn't surprise me.
Is he going to lay in state? Is it one of those things?
He is currently.
He's currently in state. Okay.
Yep. With a wrinkled flag on his casket.
How come in Trump's administration, Trump's world, we can't have smooth flags? Hey,
can't have pools that reflect.
The anti-immigrant rhetoric that the Supreme Court now said that Donald Trump can revoke status of Haitians and Syrians, some that go back, I think, 30 years. Republicans are saying deporting mass amounts of Haitians will be terrible for them, for our country, for wherever they go. No good will come from it. And you can argue that the federal government needed to get its handle on the worst of the worst. Name a Haitian that should be deported. These people are not being deported for crimes. They're being deported for being Haitians and for being here because Democratic administrations gave safe harbor to Haitians in the United States. We can't live up to our promises. Promises made to Haitians, revoked by Trump. Now, I said this to Shelley the other day, and it comes to my 98 days left here. The worst things Donald Trump has done as president will be reversed when there is a next Democratic president. Does that mean that the damage isn't going to be done? Of course not. Huge damage is going to be done. And then it's going to be reversed.
It's not
Haitians
permanent.
are going to be welcomed back in the country. Immigration's going to open again, and status is going to be returned. Because he's done all of these things with the executive orders of the presidency, and they are reversible. When Congress is in the hands of Democrats and lips to ears on it being both the House and the Senate, accountability will return. I think for the overall health of the country, politically, the best thing would be for Democrats to have mass majority in the House and not yet have control of the Senate. So that in 2028, that's on the ballot.
Yeah, the only fear, I mean, the big fear that gives me is the Supreme Court. Because if Republicans control the Senate, you know.
What? They're going to, what? I'll be sincere about this question. Do you sincerely believe that if Democrats have control of the Senate, they're not going to pass nominees that Donald Trump puts forth for the Supreme Court?
I think that it could certainly hold back some of the more extreme nominees.
If I believed that a democratically controlled Senate would say, we're not confirming any justices or federal judges that Donald Trump puts forth. We will wait until there is a Democratic president before we do so. If they would do what Mitch McConnell did, it would matter. They won't. They should. They should say what Donald Trump did in cahoots with Mitch McConnell, holding back Merrick Garland, and then fast-tracking Amy Coney Barrett days before an election, needs to be rectified. And we will not approve a single justice if they were to come up. That would be worth everything. Do you think they would do that? Do you think there's a majority leader possibly you could elect from the Democratic
I think there would be some who would advocate for that. I think when push comes to shove, you, depending on what the margins are, you'd end up with guys like John Fetterman that would buck the party.
Yeah. Oh, I think there's a lot of reasons that people would not go along with it, that Democrats would not go along with it. And I don't think there is a majority leader, Senate majority leader on the Democratic side that could hold it together. Deborah is saying perhaps Democrats could add more justice to the court. I don't know that that's what the Senate does. I don't know how more justices are added. What is the process for that?
I would have to go back and look historically. I think it's a matter of law being passed that expands the court. It's happened in the past. It doesn't require a constitutional amendment.
A president has to sign it?
I don't know. Probably.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yes. What's going to happen? And one of the guys I was talking with last night, he said, what's going to happen, after the midterm elections? We're going to have 2 years of gridlock.
Mm-hmm.
What happens is not progress. What happens for the next 2 years is harm reduction.
Yes.
Everybody needs to set their expectations correctly, that what Democrats controlling the House and or the Senate, but not the presidency, what happens is just keeping Donald Trump from enacting his agenda.
Yes. Yeah. God, we've been going for an hour and 12 minutes.
Yeah, a long time.
Wow.
Hey, Ajax? That's not Alex.
Mm-hmm.
Repping my friend Hallie Schaffner for Senate.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Look,
Hallie Schaffner.
I'm just saying, politically speaking, it would go a long way. Now, look, we do everything we can to get James Tallarico elected, even Adam Hamilton in Kansas, even Rob Sands what's the guy's name in Iowa? It's a great cat in Iowa running. Like, there's a bunch of Senate races that are like, wow, something wild could happen. Totally could. I'm just saying, politically, to keep the Senate bogged down and be able to keep blaming Republicans, because the important things that the Senate can do, it can't do with Trump as president, because he will veto anything that becomes veto proofable is going to pass with this current configuration. So, but to make sure that Clarence Thomas and who's the other justice that's gonna retire, wants to retire?
Alito.
Thank you.
Alito
don't get to leave without leaving a huge vacancy.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Yeah.
So if they could knock down the majority by a vote on the Supreme Court by leaving a seat empty for 2 years, tits for tat.
Yeah. I don't love it I understand the politics of it, understand the importance of it. I don't love it for the just ignoring the way the system's supposed to work. And I get it that they did it first, and but don't love it. Much like I didn't love the, redistricting in mid-decade redistricting in California or in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that it had to happen because of what happened in Texas, and blah, 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 but I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like it either. I didn't like it when I went into a surgery and they had to cut the back of my hip and take my ankle and put it up behind my ear and dislocate my hip and go into. I didn't.
Ooh.
As Glennon says, we can do hard things. Jim says, Jim started first comment from Jim an hour ago. Listening while driving, so I can't make comments. Thank you, Jim, for the care of your driving. We've been on so long, Jim then says, this time, you've been going long enough that I could drive from Goleta north of Santa Barbara, get stuck in traffic on the 101 and the 405 exchange in Sherman Oaks, California, just west of downtown Los Angeles. You're still going. Yeah, there's nothing likable about this.
Yeah.
Does it right or wrong? Probably. Does it left or right? Yeah, probably. Gets us back on the straight. We banked right. Now we're going to bank back left, so we're back going straight.
Yep.
Because what's the purity truly? What's the purity of we should approve nominations of a president in a timely fashion? It's decorum. When Lindsey Graham's sister got sworn in within hours of a vacancy, and the senator or the House member from Arizona took months.
Yep.
Because you can do that. You can wait. You don't have to put forth, you don't have to have hearings for Senate nominees. No. And when someone says, well, what would happen if you had somebody come up within days of election, you say, oh, we would nominate him and push him through immediately. And they did.
Yeah.
There's not a thing. There's not a decorum thing.
Yep.
I mean, you can wear a tank top to a wedding. That's all I'm saying. You can do it. You can wear a sundress and you can wear a tank
hoodie
top
on the floor of the Senate. I got a thing for Fetterman today.
Yeah, you're really wound up about that guy.
That guy.
But why are people so bothered by Fetterman? What's the rub?
I don't know about people. I can tell you what bothers me about Fetterman.
Sure, yeah, you're one of those. You're one of the people.
Mm-hmm. I don't know about people, but I can tell you about me. John Fetterman campaigned as a part of the progressive wing of the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
A wing that I am sympathetic to, say the least. Understanding that within the Democratic Party, there are different philosophical approaches to how government should happen, how campaigns should function, what messaging needs to be a part of, communicating with the American people. There are very different approaches within the big tent of the Democratic Party. And Fetterman campaigned as a member of one part of that party. And he has since shifted, changed, moved, not just to the the more moderate side, but still loyal to the party, but to a point where he is willing to cooperate with Republicans in ways that I think are detrimental to the country. He has voted for things that I think are a real problem. And he has really courted this place of unreliable, unpredictable. In much the same way that you mentioned Joe Manchin earlier, in that this place that Joe Manchin had, and I'm just not here for it.
So is it that he isn't what people wanted him to be? Is it that they feel it was false pretenses, or is it like he's actually done,
know.
or is it you can't break with the like?
No, there's been a shift in him, and I don't know how much of it was related to the accident that he had in his medical recovery.
Okay.
That has an impact on people. It just he is not now who he was when he was first elected.
I mean, look, I think this is the problem with it's easy to think that the progressive approach has a consistent set of issues that somebody would hold to, right? Somebody like Fetterman could be there on unions, could be there on abortion access, could be there on LGBTQ inclusion, could be there on a whole lot of things and then people could assume, well, he's probably also going to be there on the border, and he's probably also going to be there on funding of Israel, because that's what one of the struggles in the categories of our politics, progressive or conservative, is it's not as if you get the whole download sheet and everyone agrees on everything.
Yeah, totally. I get that.
I mean, I want every progressive that wants, there to be universal health care to call for banning guns. One guy that I know of, he's not a Democrat, won't, but he still gets to be progressive. So I don't know. It's like this is the thing that's, there's this rolling sense of what are the policies that somebody has to support that make you progressive? What are the ones that make you not one? And I mean, so many progressives are bad on the border. So many progressives are bad on the military. Things that I think should have to be there to be considered. I think it feels like a bait and switch with Fetterman. I thought he was going to be a populist, reach out for the little guy thing because of his affect.
Yeah.
Remember when I told you about that friend of mine that said something like, did I tell you about the story about a friend of mine saying that he had a split with his dad over Trump, and his dad died, and he said to his brothers, "It really breaks my heart that Dad died so mad at me." Did I tell you this story? Okay, well, this happened the other day. And he said, "Yeah," I said to my brothers, "I'm just really sad that I'm really sad that Dad was mad at me when he died." He said, "My brother, who was closer to my dad than I was, said, 'Oh, Dad wasn't mad at you. He was just disappointed in you and the effect that was going to have on the family.'" The guy was like, okay, that's worse. I thought he was just mad at me. He was disappointed in me and the impact I was going to have on the family. I think a lot of us are disappointed in the, but frankly, I think it's because is this a safe place? I think it's because a lot of us are disappointed in the progressive movement, frankly. And he's illustrative of that frustration. Think that's fair? Do you think we're just disappointed that the progressive movement, it's been around for, I mean, like statedly around as a category for a decade or more. And it's like, why are we still having to,
That's interesting.
I mean, look, if you just think, what did the progressive movement call for? What did MAGA call for? And over again, more people in America are convinced that the MAGA ideas are the ones that they should vote for. It's unthinkable to me. Lost the argument.
So far.
Yeah. But not in one mayor's race in New York or one mayor's race in, Indiana or one mayor's race in, well, it did happen in Minneapolis, but, we find these onesies or twosies where at local government, even though it's a big local government, but still structurally it's just local government. I mean, I come from a place and a state where Paul Wellstone in the early 1990s was one of the lone progressive voices there calling for stuff. It's utterly bizarre to me. And our two Democratic presidents that we've had since the 1990s were not shining stars of the progressive agenda.
No.
And how many senators do we even have? And how big's the caucus?
Yeah.
And, there's some House members that are saying some.
And but out of 435 House members, the squad is what, 6 people?
Yeah, like nameable. You could collect all their trading cards.
Yeah. And the political environment is anybody with a D by their name is now labeled a communist, it's just utterly absurd.
It's the 1950s all over again.
Right? Like, there's 6 or 8 socialists out of the 535 senators and members of Congress. 6 or 8.
Right.
6 or 8. Like it is not like oh my God, it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Yeah. Hakeem Jeffries is not a socialist. He's not. He's not
even a democratic socialist.
Right. He's not even a democratic socialist. Like this, it is so unserious, and dishonest and disingenuous, the political labeling that happens. And, it's about.
And it's a slur. It's a political slur, which tells you that somehow being a red hat MAGA supporter is less of a slur
than being red.
Than being red-hearted.
Yeah. Red hat or red. I'm not red hat. I'm just red.
I'm just red from top to bottom.
Yeah.
So there needs to be, and again, we've said this 1,000 times. I'm choosing not to be that person. Maybe you either, but there's not even a progressive political proponent out there. Truly, you start down the road of who are we talking about here? And nobody clicks all the buttons.
I think
that's what people are mad at Fetterman's about. But I don't know.
I just got a text reminding me about my doctor's appointment. So I got
a text reminding me about a breakfast that's supposed to be at 11:30. Which, unfortunately, I had in my calendar as tomorrow, but I looked back at the text and no, I said today.
Oh, well, I think it's time we
gotta go.
We
Bye.
wrap this thing up. Pants box. I gotta move these things out of the way to push it. We're still on the air.